to the lease and maintenance agreement regarding Riverview Boat Ramp. Mr. Bobbitt, Mr. Gardner.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is an amendment to an existing lease that the city has with the Alabama Department of Conservation regarding the Riverview Boat Landing. If you've ever been down there lately, you know it needs some work. And what this agreement is, it sets forth what the city will do and what the Department of Conservation is willing to do. Essentially, the city would pave the lot and stripe it. And the Department of Conservation, they would replace the boat ramp, and they would also install a new stationary pier with a through-flow decking. I don't know what that is, but they would do those two things. And the city would undertake maintenance, except for what's called nominal maintenance. Anything non-nominal is the Department of Conservation would take care of, and that's if there's damage to the dock, if there's damage to the boat ramp, things like that. So,
Anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion.
you got anything?
Second.
Okay.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, city properties review. Mr. Moore, Mr. Bobbitt.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Recognizing time, we're at 4:15. We may not get through this full presentation. I kind of look at this as the first batch that we'll run through. Feel free to ask questions and jump in. I might move around a little bit to point some elements out. A couple quick notes on the presentation. We've included what I call just kind of the facts of due diligence for property. So most of these are going to be institutionally zoned for us. So if you wanted to change something in the future for disposition, we would have to go through that, subdivisions, engineering reviews and the like, but just kind of wanted to walk through it. So feel free to ask questions as we go. And big thanks to the team members on this. So the city is responsible for approximately 500 properties. I do want to note that this excludes critical infrastructure, your designated parks, our drainage properties. So there is a fairly substantial amount that's out. I mean, you think about your water treatment plants, you think about kind of those areas, obviously those are not going to be included. For this particular item, it's about 48 parcels that we'll go over. So up first is the Benjamin Barnes old location, YMCA in Weaver Bolden Branch. It's approximately 2.5 acres. Recently got a appraisal, which is combined over $1 million. There was an RFP, and I know there's been ongoing discussions with Maud Watley. So fun footnote on this one is any sale or change of use must comply with CDBG regulations. So that's an important note to make on that. And Counselor, if you'd like, we can get you a full copy of this afterwards to make it easier. And then, and we're going to have PDFs, so we're going to get it out. The other thing is a fun footnote. You do have a number up at the top. We don't usually do that, but you've got a lot of parcels, so that way if you want to refer back to property 3, property 4, just make a note. The other thing with CDBG requirements on this is it must sell or lease at fair market value.
It goes back in the city.
And it goes back in the CDBG. You're welcome to jump up if you want to.
Somewhere up here, he's smiling.
See, he is smiling. We had that discussion. 3200 Greensboro, which we did have a discussion about recently. Appraisal came back at the end of April at $3.3 million. That's about just under 3.5 acres. Once again, it's institutionally zoned. You would want to change that if you would want to dispose of it. And I know we had a discussion. Yes, sir?
How much did we pay for that? 2.3.
Yes.
2.3.
Appraised and when it appraised at 2.6, we paid 2.
Okay. And we bought it when?
19, wasn't it?
19.
19. And on any of these, if there's something of interest that you want to flag or go deeper on, just please let me know and we'll be happy to do that for you. Fire Station 11, prior location, you'll know on this one, this was pending purchase, council authorized disposal on 5/13/25, and I believe a contract is in progress. So that would be an example of one we have or in process of disposing of. Fire Station 7, I'm not sure what's going on with our formatting here, but I apologize about that. It should be formatted correctly, but this will be one that I want to point out. We're going to look at in the future. One of TFR's needs is to get it expanded in different station locations. So in the future, this property could become available. Very small on Skyline Boulevard. We'll look at other sites, but just kind of want to note that location and the district in which it's, the location and station number. You mind, Vicki, if I stand here briefly? So facilities maintenance warehouse, it's approximately just under 13 acres. I do want to note you do have two parcels here. The back portion is in a flood zone, which isn't necessarily a large issue. You do have a large sewer line that runs through generally this area. The deed includes provisions for joint access and maintenance. This is one that has been explored over time to look at changes. There's been interest in more industrial and warehouse type users. So this could be something more of an EDA type project in the future. Mr. Thompson, I believe here, has done a fantastic job looking at other options and consolidating some of our basically facilities. Are there better ways to use this? Do we need to move it and change it, get to the south side of the river? So that's something that I think could be an ongoing discussion. And I know Councilor Crowe, with your role in EDA, I'm sure this parcel has come up a handful of times. McAdee Center, currently 7.1 acres, zoned institutionally public. There is a CDBG HUD approval process for a payback at fair market value, which is going to be that building right there. Deed states the property must be used as a community center or the like. Ongoing discussions with Councilor Fail and Councilor Tyner on this piece of property. Once the Phelps Center project at Bowers is up and running, with the full therapy pool and all those amenities and improvements are done, we are looking to decommission this property and find an appropriate use for it. Any questions or thoughts on this one? Obviously, I do want to note we would find a way to honor the McAfee name. I do not want that to be left out. There are some other parties that may be interested in, some council members may know, but we will see moving forward if that interest still is there. Phelps Center property, very fascinating one. Once again, I apologize, Vicki, we've got some interesting formatting issues going on.
It's this room. It can look correct.
I will get it cleaned up for next time, I apologize. There's approximately just under 36.5 acres, and I want you to pay very close attention to this one. This section here, which is the boat landing, is restricted and protected via city code, so that cannot change. Gorgeous area right here. This is LWCF restricted at 10.23 acres for this section right here. That means in order to change that, you would have to essentially do a conversion and convert 10 acres over. The topo on this is pretty rough, so I don't know if that's something to be usable or expand in a different way. I would like to note you do have approximately just under 20 acres of the proper Phelps Center area that is not restricted.
How does that play into our future plans for the Phelps Center? Don't we have to kind of develop what we want to do there before we look at selling that?
Yeah, or we could inform it via RFP process. I mean, that would be up to obviously mayor and council from a direction standpoint. I mean, obviously we want to honor the Phelps name, but as far as from desirability, it would be a great commercial piece of property, and maybe with some sort of public component with it as well.
And I did a poor job of introducing this, and I should have done so. About several months ago, when we realized SSUT was going to take millions out of our budget this coming year, one of the things I asked Brendan to do, knowing we're one of the largest property owners in Tuscaloosa, is how do we create revenue? Now, granted, it's one-time revenue, but how do you create one-time revenue from sales of property, and you also take properties that are not tax generating and you make them tax generating? So this, and I don't want anyone to say we're going out and selling this property, but I do think it's important we look at this and think about where can we put some of these properties back on the tax rolls. This has been a really good exercise, because until Brendan went through this, I didn't realize all of that. So again, I think this is a great starting point for discussions for the months and years ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brendan.
Oh, no, please jump in, anybody on this one. To Councilor Pro, Mayor Maddox's point, this is, I mean, obviously there's a lot of discussions for usage on this, but as far as probably one of your top pieces of property in the portfolio that could be looked at to be revamped. And in talking to Vicki, my apologies if we did PowerPoint as opposed to displaying the PDF. The PDF would display better, so we'll correct that when we send that out. So the Lakes Division Office and Maintenance, not necessarily saying to get rid of the Lakes Division Office. All right, that is a very large tract piece of property right there. Would have to be subdivided, modifications made. There is no direct sanitary sewer access. You'd obviously have to, any kind of requirements, you have to meet septic requirements, etc. We do routinely, Mr. Bobbitt knows, we get calls, probably the lake is the most popular one that we get calls on for a lake property. I would see this probably being more residential in nature over time, just looking at the land use around it. But once again, Mr. Bobbitt and myself do receive a tremendous amount of calls for the lake property, which we'll touch on. And we could easily work with Ms. Brights and Mr. Gardner and, subdivide sections off, modify, and look at some opportunities there.
Is any of the northern sewer expansion, is any of that, I can't remember directionally, is any of that?
It's on the other.
It's on the other end of the lake, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Just checking.
So once again, just stepping down from that lake's office area, once again, 2 other parcels, no utilities present, but could be wrapped into that larger package from a property standpoint. So you're looking, if you look between these two, excuse me, let me go back. If you look between these two, I think it's roughly just under or around 45 acres, depending on what you carve out from lake property, with some pretty good topo as well, so it makes it a little bit easier to develop if desired. So this is probably the one that Tom and I get the most calls on. It's the new Watermelon Road vacant lot area. If Lake Crest for proximity, Spillway, Phelps Center. Just under 45 acres. Fairly substantial flat going out toward the water. Amazing view out there. We have looked at the topo. You would have some challenges, but is probably developable. Obviously, there isn't direct immediate sanitary sewer access, but there is sanitary sewer in the area. Just would want to be mindful of considerations that don't adversely affect our water quality in this area. But I would flag probably this piece of property and the General Phelps area are your 2 probably biggest from both a financial standpoint for value, and also probably to receive a lot of responses if you were to RFP it, just guessing. Point Clear Road vacant lot, this is a fascinating one. There is no direct access to this property, so let's get oriented. Phelps Center, Rock Quarry Landing, right here at the end of Point Clear Road. This is one where Mr. Bobbitt and our team has done extensive research. The utility extension and any kind of access would have to go through other private property. One of the things we've looked at is potentially, if you remember that LWCF area here, we could do a conversion, right? We could flip this and make that protected park area and then free this one up if you wanted to. Might be something to look at and explore just long term, depending on what your expectations are. But I think that might be a little bit more viable than going through some of the private property areas. The old jail site, and I apologize, I'm moving through this to try to keep y'all on schedule for 5 p.m. Just under a half acre, it is zoned historic, important note, you have Capitol Park here. Gorgeous building, but it does need a lot of love and it is historic. We did have some
We did
plans.
that with the city schools. Is that not
We own it.
We own it.
We did, yeah, it was city schools at one point.
Okay.
And then we got it, so.
And every time over the years when we've looked at remodeling it, the ADA costs are so high.
So much money.
And you also would have to fully comply with any historic regulations. And that would, by the way, if you were disposed of, the applicant would have to do the same.
Like the front of it.
Yes, sir.
Murphy Collins House, just under an acre, utilized as a museum, historic property once again, and this one is leased to the Tuscaloosa County Preservation Society to 2031. CDBG funded, important note, same rules apply for Mr. Howell's office.
Oh,
yes, sir.
Well, Miss Simon's coming on my show this week. Well, she's not director of the house now, but anybody know did they have a
Shea Bird.
director? She's
Shea
director?
Bird,
Okay.
Al Friedman House, this is Tom Bobbitt, one of our most fascinating ones, Tom. Leased to the Preservation Society until September 30th, 2025 with additional 5-year options. So please note, September 30th, 2025, that is coming up for renewal. Historic property, here are the conditions. Property must only be used for public or municipal purpose, must be never sold or conveyed CDBG. Right, so this is one where it essentially has to be used for a public purpose or for a city facility. So if you're kind of moving things around to free up property, there could be an option there, or you could renew the lease with the Preservation Society.
Do you know how many,
So,
I know some things are in there, how many agencies or whatever you want to call them are using that right
my understanding for most part on that is it's Preservation Society.
Sister City.
Okay.
Sister Cities, I knew, and
That's right.
Reservation, is that pretty much it?
Yeah, and that would, I guess, would be a sublease in some way.
They're in they're in the Jemison, aren't they?
That's what I thought they were
Oh,
Jemison.
yes.
Oh, I'm confused too.
This one, for the most part, is utilized, most time it's for, weddings, events, I think of more event venues now. But it can't be sold, really can only be used for public or municipal purposes. AA building, this is outside of the protected Queen City Park area. We're doing a Councilor Pro ask, we're actually finishing up our environmental testing this week. We do have a non-disclosure agreement on this property where we do have some opportunities in the event that that would fall through. There could be some other options for this property. Well, we are doing full review on geotechnical analysis, environmental analysis, and just general, constructability. Are there options with that, and what would that cost? That should be complete, I would think, probably by July. There should be doing some testing actually this week from that previously approved contract. Great piece of property, great location. Hopefully the option we have will work out for that. Greensboro Avenue parking lot, get tons of calls on this one. Fantastic for open parking in downtown. One of the challenges with this is you have a utility line. Please look at the sizes that run through the middle of that parking lot. It would be extensive cost to move it, or for a developer if they were required to. There's also a large transmission line from Alabama Power, which is in the area, which would also present another challenge. And there is the likely site of a possible park project, I believe, on that corner right there. So that one may not be the best option from a utility and from a public art standpoint, downtown parking, but we obviously wanted to include it in the review. Colton Park Road, vacant lot, not very usable on this one. You're gonna find a handful of these where we should probably work with the adjoining property owners to do some type of deed over to them or some type of transaction to get it off of our maintenance and back to the private sector. There are gonna be a handful of these. Can't really be developed adjacent to the Roger Truck Shop. Councilor Tyner, we're in your area. So we've got some Juanita Drive lots. CDBG funding with DR, that once again will go back into LaPerry's pot. Most of these are developable. Obviously, rules and regulations would apply, but are some good single-family lots depending on what the level of interest would be. We have a couple of these in your area. And they're zoned for single-family as well. There is a transmission line on this one, but it didn't really need heat. It's in the development anymore, so we think that that could be useful as well. And for context, I believe we've got Alberta Parkway right here. 614 26th Avenue East, it's going to be the same, general same area, some of those kind of leftover lots. Can be developed, it would may require flood insurance just with some drainage in that area, but once again, as an option if you want to get something back on the tax rolls, provide some good housing opportunities. Do want to know, anything that's flagged with CDBG, it does have to go back into LaBerry's bucket of dollars.
This is basically behind the school, right?
Yes, sir.
Playground.
Yes, sir. Foster's Ferry Road vacant lot. So this is what's kind of referred to as Springer property. This part is a protected area. Most likely, there's no direct, the access, vehicle access would be through the Springer property most likely. Could be a likely project for Mr. Howell's office, depending on access and what the council chose. I believe this is the one, and someone can jump in and correct me, Tom, this is what we worked with the county office.
That's right.
So that will go in that spot, but another decent piece of property with some good housing in that area. There's no direct access to sanitary sewer, but from DHR building and the Springer property area, we can easily get access. About 7 acres, which is pretty good. T-Dot lot, I think Mr. Thompson wants to use that for some overflow parking, is that right? So that one may be, that may be in flux. I think Mr. Thompson and his team and Mr. Green need some overflow parking for this, so that may be understaffed with the facilities.
Mr. Eatman, you'll be glad to know we're gonna work to make certain that TDOT never is a voting precinct in District 1.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Even with the parking lot expansion, hopefully in the future.
This formatting's killing me. The 0.25 acres with the institutional public. Once again, this is going to be a section of, and I apologize again with the formatting. We're going to get you the PDF copy. We should use that for the presentation. this one is most likely one where it probably needs to be consolidated with some of the adjacent parcels. So, and one of the things I want y'all to think about as you're walking through this, you're seeing pieces of property that may not have extreme value, or pieces of property that, we may not make a lot of money. Just think, every one of these pieces of property that we own, we've got O&M on it. Somebody's cutting it, somebody's maintaining it, somebody's keeping up with it. Most likely that's Eric's crews or Mr. Green's crews. So anything we can kind of get rid of, that's just one more item off that we don't have to mow, cut, keep up with. And by the way, some of the adjoining property owners, it would be great to assist them as well. Ms. Michael has told me for this one, the Garner Road vacant lot, approximately 1 acre, that's zoned single family. It was originally purchased for a water tower, but the property, it is no longer a feasible option. There isn't any direct sanitary sewer access, but there is a line within the Highland Ridge area. Would be required for septic tanks, but could be viable for some single family lots. Again, 3131 20th Street, just under 0.2 acres. This is neighborhood commercial. You may have some building footprint considerations on the parcel, but is fully zoned and ready and can be developed. And most of these parcels, actually I'm going to say most, nearly every one of these parcels has been checked and reviewed by the planning office or urban development office for viability for development. Alberta Parkway, I think Councilor Connor's got something working on this.
Yes, thanks to Tom.
So we do want to note that, but it is authorized surplus for sale, full
Big
market
piece of
value
land,
once
isn't
again. Appraisal has been completed and gathering title work, so I just wanted to flag that as an update that it has been reported as a final plat.
You
and
can't
it is
tell how
also
much land
ready.
that is, that says 0.7 acres, it's
We're
not a
at
lot.
4:35, I'm gonna keep going, y'all just tell me to stop if you need me to. University Manor lots, fantastic concept in that being purchased in the interest of public safety. We're not recommending any changes on this to dispose of. That would be something you would probably actually wanna add to the portfolio, if that makes sense. Help tremendously with TPD and TFR for public safety purposes and making the area safer. But once again, going through the review, just wanted to flag that and let you know that this is the amount in the portfolio. Okay. So we're actually a pretty good time. Is there any questions or direction that council would like as we move forward on particular pieces of property? We've got another section that I call is a little bit, these are the complicated ones, and we got ones that are more complicated that we're gonna go through and continue to review. Any thoughts or action items from us?
If you would, just email.
I'm gonna email you the PDF version so it's formatted correctly.
Yeah.
And I would anticipate, we'll get you a copy to council. If there is action or activity that is desired, please let us know, Mr. Bobbitt, and I would be happy to add any interested parties to our RFP list. Well over 100, I think, at this point, Mr. Bobbitt. If there's certain properties you want us to look at deeper, prepare an RFP for, we can construct language that is designed to give exactly what you want to see. Is that sales tax producing? Is that residential growth? Whatever it may be.
I would like to see the zonings on some of them, on the ones in my district, like 25, but I can email you about that.
Yeah, we'll get you a copy of it. Now, a lot of them may either have that zoning flag, or if we own it, it was more of a public-centric use and maybe institutional zone, but we could work with Ms. Price and Mr. Pons, and we would just adjust that.
Okay.
Kind of similar to the 3200. If somebody were to acquire that, they would want it zoned commercially and not institutionally. But that's just an easy mechanism. We on our own accord can go to the planning commission to initiate that. Chairperson, do you have any questions or requests?
Not at this time. I'd like to kind of look at the properties and next.
We'll get you a nice PDF with it and get it over to council, probably by tomorrow morning, if that works for everybody. We'll just drop you a copy of the deck and we'll go through them. As Mayor Maddox alluded to, you do have, I would say, depending on how you want to calculate it, maybe under 10 premium, but there are some really nice pieces of property that not only can get you a one-time kind of revenue source, but also too, depending on the use you decided on it, would probably get you some ongoing revenue as well, commercially speaking.
And did all the slides show where, what budget the funds would have to go into?
And only if it was a protected fund.
Okay.
So think about if it's CDBG or disaster recovery or, you know, one that has a flag source in which it would have to be put back into.
Mhm.
then we would adjust it and have to do
Like
that.
Alberta Parkway, that would be DR.
Yeah, correct, right, so we did list that on, so that would not necessarily go back in the general fund, that would just go into disaster recovery or Mr. Howell for, and the council will review that if you get funded, but we'll just allow more programs to be funded. Recognizing time at 4:38, we'll give you all a break before we start.
Any other questions?
No,
Great
thank
job.
you, thank you.
Thank you, we'll get you a copy, and I apologize once again about the formatting, we'll get you a PDF version.
No problem.
No other questions, can I get a move to
Have you already got
adjourn?
it?
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?